Welcome to Left Undone, Incomplete Investigations. I'm Kathryn. Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, Alex Cox, and the horrible outcome with the missing children. I have a little bit of information that I'd love to go over regarding what seems more like priestcraft, witchcraft that these people are involved in. I have no idea what the politically correct term is for their belief system, their pendulums, their things that they deal with. But I do think that it plays here. Let's just get started with that. I'm going to go over some things that have to do with Melanie Gibb and Julie Rowe, the belief system, and maybe how we got here. I think it matters. Welcome to Left Undone, Incomplete Investigations. I'm Kathryn. Please like, please subscribe, share, and ring the bell for notifications. Be awesome. I received an email, and I'm going to keep it anonymous. But this email came after Chad Daybell was arrested and the children's bodies were found. This person is LDS, and they wanted me to draw some attention to the really horrible things that happened based on this belief system that Chad had embraced, as well as how Lori had embraced it, as well as Julie Rowe has embraced it. I am going to go ahead right now and paraphrase this email. So this energy healing, this pendulum, becoming possessed, talking about angels who visit, and this led these people to murder. All this wackadoodle belief system led to murder two children. I mean, when you think about it, it's unacceptable and unbelievable and so completely evil. Do you know that the founder of Christ-Centered Energy Healing, Dr. Bradley Nelson, has a 17-year-old son who walked into a cafe last summer and shot a police officer in the head? These people are all about energy healing and pendulums, and I go back and forth on this. Many believe that when you're doing this and messing with this, you're inviting evil, dark spirits into your life, into your world. I believe we have free will. I don't know if that could happen, honestly. I mean, Catholic Church has done exorcisms in the past for people. You know, we've always heard about this possessions and stuff. And I believe if there's light and good and God, there's evil. So in a lot of ways, it makes sense that you could invite these evil spirits into your life. I guess if you invite them, but you can also be strong enough to not invite them or to just be a good person and live life like your conscience should tell you to live. Dark spirits are believed to come in when you use a Ouija board, pendulums, muscle testing. There's a belief that you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what kind of spirits you're dealing with. They can fool you, right? I mean, evil spirits could come and fool you and pretend they're good spirits. They could pretend they're your long lost relative. Who knows? We don't know. We really don't understand or know the spirit world and what happens to us. We know people that have had near-death experiences. My mother had a near-death experience. She doesn't believe in, she hasn't seen anything weird since then, but she did. She floated above her body when she was giving birth, and she had a postpartum hemorrhage, and she saw them working on her, and then she was able to see flashes of what her family members were doing at that moment. It was a Sunday morning. She saw her mother and her sister at church lighting candles. She saw her children, and they saved her. They resuscitated her, brought her back, but she remembers this to this day. And so that she has no fear. She said, I was on my way to heaven. I knew it, but she didn't get far enough to see the light. So I truly believe, I know there's many people that are not religious at all or don't have any faith like that, but I truly believe we go somewhere else. And I believe that our spirit goes somewhere else. Now, there's all kinds of religions that believe different things about spirits. I don't know how everybody else believes, but I'm just saying that I can see this as being a thing where you invite evil to your life. But I also see it as you have free will and you can make decisions not to do that or not to accept that or to understand that you're being fooled, right? Or if it does come to that, where you really believe you're speaking to dead relatives or people, maybe you want to think twice, like, is this real? Is this my mind? Or is this evilness? You can pray, you can follow scripture, you can read scripture, you can pray to your, to God, to the saints. You can do that, but you cannot ask for a spirit to come to you. And if they do, the belief is, and this is how I understand it, and I'm not an expert, but the belief is that it would be someone demonic. It is not that person from that you think it is. It is not your lost relative, and it is not God. It is against the Bible, Christian. So that's where I struggle when people are like, oh my gosh, the psychic said this and this and this. They're very nice people, and maybe they believe that that's who they're talking to. And for some weird reason, it seems to be helpful at times. But I don't mess with any of that. So, and that's what I'm saying here. This is the same kind of thing. They truly messed with something that isn't okay, that is against God, that is not biblical at all. So these dark spirits, Ouija boards, all that stuff, you don't know who you're talking to. And that's the belief system. Now, this is just people. I've been given this information from people that have observed Julie Rowe. This isn't firsthand. This is hearsay. This is secondhand. This is what I've been told that people that have observed Julie Rowe, that have been familiar with Julie Rowe before Chad Daybell became somebody we would know of. Julie Rowe taught all of this to Chad when they worked on his first book. Julie was said to be lying about all these visions and near-death experiences. People on Daybell actually said that Julie Rowe stole their visions and made them her own. So if they're talking about visions on their message board thing there, Julie Rowe was like, oh, as she went in writing and talking and stuff, she took other people's visions and said, this happened to me. Allegedly, according to consensus of people that are involved with her, been around her, and have seen the evilness of what's going on, especially now with Chad, they're saying that this isn't okay. This isn't real. She's lying. It has been rumored that Julie Rose stole these visions from people on Daybell message board, and they were not her visions that she talks about, teaches about, and writes about. We know Julie loves the media, and we know she's doing the circuit right now, and we know she's saying things about Chad. And I have a hard time believing a lot of what Julie Rose says because we have done a video on her before. I was told that she called a man who was worth millions after his wife died and told him, the Lord sent me to talk to you. She was trying to convince him that they had been married before in a pre-earth life. Men would reject her for donations, and then she would go mad. She would get very angry with them. So when men would reject her for donation requests, she would go nuts on them and tell them they were not good priesthood holders because they couldn't see that God was talking to them through her. People have tried to shut Julie down. She was excommunicated from the LDS church. When she was excommunicated, apparently Chad started saying he had near-death experiences. Before that, the only thing he ever told people was that he had a swimming accident, but now it became near-death experiences. And before that, he was like, oh no, I had a swimming accident. I was unconscious for a few minutes. After the whole Julie Rowe interaction, getting to know her and her book and all this stuff, he decided that he was having these visions and veils and opening and spirits and being able to see the other side. So he wanted to be his own Julie Rowe because it sold books, and it did sell books, right? So Melanie Gipp and David Warwick was involved in all this, preparing the people. You can see his name. He was a speaker in this. He was just right on up there with them, right? With Chad. I guess Melanie and Lori both, they were all four still married. Chad was married to Tammy. David was married to somebody else. Melanie Gibb was married to her husband. And, Lori was married to Charles, which Lori wound up being with Chad, and Melanie wound up being with David Warwick. They went there to these events, and that's who they were after. David and Chad. You get David, I get Chad. And again, this isn't coming from me. This is coming from people that know them. So that's how Melanie and Lori kind of became good best BFFs, because they had this ultimate goal of, and I imagine it has to do with this 144,000. You have to get the person that's actually part of the 144,000, because apparently the person you're married to isn't. And Melanie had a blind eye towards the dangers of all of this. She was focused on David. She wanted David. So at some point, Melanie introduced David to Chad's teachings. So David wasn't out there with this wackadoodle teaching, but he was involved in these speaking engagements and all that. So Melanie introduced him to Chad's teachings, and David was like, no. So David denounced them. He said, nope, nope, nope. He told them that they were on the road to apostasy, which means abandonment of their religious beliefs. Like, they are going to another direction. This isn't how we believe. David got kicked out of these meetings that they had at that point, because he was like, no, man, this is not okay. He got kicked out of these meetings because he warned them that they were on the road to apostasy. People that know them personally. That's how this information was relayed to me. So when David stopped going to the meeting, Melanie did too, because she didn't want to lose David. She was attached to him at that point, maybe in love with him, and she stopped going to the meeting too. And they're still together. Melanie and David are still together, and he is supporting her. It's really hard, from what people that know him say, for him to really wrap his mind away how Melanie could have ever believed any of this in the first place. Like, this is just like a big deal. Like, how did you believe this? And we asked the same question. How on earth did you fall for this? Like, how did you believe this? Why are you so gullible? What? And I still don't understand. I know most of us don't understand how Melanie did this. And that's why I just say, well, the only thing I can say about Melanie Gibb is that she came forward, and she's going forward from there. But she was screwed up in that thought process for quite some time, and probably made a lot of mistakes by not saying things sooner or getting out sooner, right? David actually did deprogram Melanie. He's the friend that she talked to for hours and hours, or all night, or however she words it. He's the friend that showed her, like, this isn't okay. This is not real. You are seriously playing with evilness, and this is something you should not be believing. But again, like all the consensus out there when I'm reading the comments, that Melanie Gibb could have saved things. But so a lot of this was too late, because by the time Melanie Gibb got deprogrammed, these kids were already gone. And we all know there were red flags. And again, the only thing I can say is she really screwed up. She should have got out of there sooner. Could she have saved the kids? I don't know. And I can't really even go there with that, because I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know when she could have raised a stink and how far gone her head was when this was all going down, calling people zombies and all that. David and Melanie went to Rexburg, and that's the whole weekend that we're talking about, where they saw JJ last. So Tyler was already missing by then when David got there. David saw Alex carrying a sleeping JJ. David now thinks that JJ might have just been dead. He maybe wasn't even sleeping at that moment. He might have been already dead, which gives me a little bit of comfort that maybe they just drugged him, that he didn't suffer. My personal opinion is people screwed up bad, a lot of them. But going forward is all we have right now. All we have is to go forward. The kids are gone. So whatever we can do to get Lori and Chad put away for good is what needs to be done. Whoever is out there that knows anything just needs to swallow their pride, face their fears, say their prayers, and help get Lori and Chad put away for good. Alex is already dead. This is all jacked up, messed up crap. craziness, wackadoodle stuff. I never imagined anybody out there was actually doing this stuff, like regular, normal people that were raising kids and taking them to school. Never would think that they were doing stuff like this. So it's very scary and quite a reality check if you think about it. What your next door neighbor could believe, like, really? They're not my next door neighbor, but you know what I mean. Way back when Charles was a zombie, and then Zombie got killed, then Charles got killed, you know, red flag right there. You know, they said Tammy was going to die, and then Tammy got killed, you know, red flag. There were a lot of red flags. I do believe denial is a very powerful thing in people, very. And I think it's a protective mechanism. And so it's very hard sometimes to get through to somebody's mind when they're so have their head in the sand or have their line drawn in the sand to really try to get them to see that they're in denial mode. You know, I'm not a psychologist at all, but I've seen people's minds get kind of twisted on stuff like that. There's a lot of people, and I'm not arguing, or I don't disbelieve you that Melanie could have stopped it and she could have gone to the police sooner. I don't know if CPS would have done anything about somebody calling their kid a zombie. I've said that a few times. But I guess, you know, if it was me or probably you, we would have seen the red flags and done something, hollered from the mountaintop sooner to make somebody do something. Greed, lust, priestcraft, lies, pride, and murder are the theme here. So thank you for watching Left Undone, Incomplete Investigations. I'm Kathryn, and I will see you soon.